and company's still growing. So what I'm going to go over is some of the background information about Gefen. So Gefen has always been an innovator in all of its technologies. We've always been the first to market with, the first HDMI over Cat5 solution was from Gefen. We were the first company to use the Valin's HDBaseT chips. We're also the first company to be certified. And what we primarily do is all kinds of extenders, either for KVM usage. We do extenders for digital signage, as well as any digital signal. We manage it, switch it, matrix it. We make quite a few scalers as well. And we have quite a few product lines now. We have something like over 800 different SKUs that we sell. So we've tried to help our resellers a little bit by giving them different product lines. We have our Gefen Classic, which is what most people buy. And they're end solutions for any kind of connectivity need. We have our Pro line, which we just started, which includes 24/7 tech support. We have our Gefen TV, which is for the consumer, prosumers. Typically, the Gefen TVs come in plastic boxes rather than metal, like most of our products. We started with a new toolbox line of products, which allow you to screw these things directly onto a wall, so they're not rack mount type. As well as we've started quite a few digital signage solutions. We have 4 different digital signage products. But this presentation is going to be all about our extra long range extender technology, which is using HDBaseT. And ELR, like it says, stands for extra long range. And it's designed to do 330 feet on any Cat5 cable. And what HDBaseT allows us to do, it's obviously a chipset that we incorporate into our products, and they allow for low-speed communication. Besides extending HDMI, they extend the Ethernet. So we have used this bus, besides extending the HDMI, to do USB, RS-232, and an IR back channel. And as time goes on, we're going to use the bus to do more on a single Cat5. So one of the things that's very nice about HDBaseT is they've set up a compliance. So any manufacturer who adheres to the HDBaseT spec can use any competitor's receiver or transmitter. So one of the things that we've already tested with quite a few companies is using our transmitter, and the TV has no HDMI. It has nothing but a Cat5 in. So we've tested with projectors and displays from various manufacturers. Unfortunately, we have NDAs, so I can't say who we've tested with. But this makes installation very nice, clean, easy. So here's another great example of what you can do with our HDBaseT products. So for example, we make a DVI version of our ELR, and we make an HDMI receiver. So these two products, let's say you got a DVI computer. Obviously, it's going to be a cleaner install plugging in directly with the DVI cable rather than to use adapters. And then most of the time on the receiver side, you're going to have HDMI on your plasma. So this is one of the things that you can do to make a much cleaner installation. So like I said earlier, we are fully compliant. We're actually the only product right now on their website. It's a little new, but still nice to be the first people fully certified.
Can I comment on that?
Yeah.
Gefen is definitely the first company that was certified, but also Transformative Engineering, which was certified at the next session after Gefen.
So basically from what the certification guarantees is that your video, audio, Ethernet, and HDCP are going to be compliant. All the other low-speed functionality may not be, such as IR, such as RS-232, may not be compliant between different manufacturers. The other thing that they do in the compliance test is verifying that the 100 meters works and that the link quality is good so that the product will not be affected by EMI. So basically, the biggest problem that we've had, we started selling, I think, HDMI extenders 5-6 years ago. Biggest problem we had was people would have a Cat5 in the wall, and it was an unshielded cable, and they would run into EMI issues all the time. This was something, they'd have a dimmer, they'd dim the lights, and their TV would blink for a couple seconds. Every time their cordless phone rang, they'd lose their picture for a few seconds. Their air conditioning turns on, they lose their picture. And our only solution until HDBaseT was we'd have to tell the customer to use a shielded Cat5 to avoid that. And obviously, nobody before HDBaseT was marketing to use shielded cable because a lot of times installation, the Cat5 is already there. And it costs more. You know, it costs more, it takes a lot more time to terminate. So it's definitely not a selling point when you're trying to sell an HDMI extender. The other thing that we still don't recommend, but it came up quite a bit, is there's two types of Cat5. There's stranded Cat5 and solid core Cat5. With the HDBaseT, we have been able to use even very cheap, low-quality stranded Cat5 to still do HDMI. We don't recommend it, but it works. The other thing that we previously could not do with our HDMI extenders were a lot of times you want to install a wall plate or a patch panel, which made the installation much nicer. You'd have a Cat5 wall plate right next to your TV, and this would drastically reduce the distance that all previous products worked. You know, if it was advertised to do 100 feet, you'd get 50 feet once you used a patch. So we no longer have this problem. We can go through multiple patches, no issues. Patches also pick up a lot of EMI, but this has not been a problem with the HDBaseT technology. The other thing that was a big problem with all the previous Cat5 extenders that everybody sold, they basically, whatever color depth came in on the HDMI, whatever resolution came in on the HDMI, was exactly what's going on the Cat5. So for example, an installer would put in a Cat5 extender a few years back, and he'd plug in his cable box. Everybody knows a cable box does 1080i. Everything works great. A year later, the customer buys a Blu-ray player and wants to plug in that Cat5 extender. No, all the Blu-rays are 1080p. They no longer get a picture, and they're confused. Why is it not working with my Blu-ray, but it was working with a cable box? And this is because 1080p is double the resolution of 1080i, so you'd get close to half or quarter of the distance when you went to the full res. Now, with HDBaseT, no matter if you're doing 480i or 480p, they're always using the same amount of bandwidth on the Cat5. So this makes your installation kind of guaranteed that it's going to work with whatever resolution, where before you had to go through an extra step of testing the maximum resolution and making sure that works. Now, the only thing we do recommend is if you are using HDBaseT and you're going to have a cable bundle of 100 cables next to each other, you cannot run HDBaseT on unshielded cable when they're all running like this next to each other. So this is a time that we're going to tell you, even though you're using HDBaseT, you're going to want shielded cabling. The other issues we ran into were high-powered radios. So for example, had a customer call me a few months ago. He's using our HDMI 3D TV extender, And he's telling me that every time we use our radios, the picture blinks. So he had to run a shielded Cat5 to solve that problem. You know, and these are 20-mile walkie-talkies that they were using at the concert. So it's definitely a lot of interference getting into the cable. The other thing is, if you're forced to run the Cat5 next to power lines, we recommend you go shielded as well. That's definitely too much interference. So next thing, I just want to make sure everybody realizes this. If you run a shielded cable without the metal RJ45, without the drain wire being soldered on both sides, it's not any better than a regular Cat5. So just make sure that your cable's shielded, the drain wire soldered to the metal RJ45. Next thing is, there's two types of termination. I mean, in the US, we all pretty much use the 568B. It definitely makes a big difference when you get to the maximum distance. We found about 30 or 40 feet less achievable distance when using the A termination versus the B termination. And this is because they've optimized, you know, the Cat5, they're all twisted pairs, but the pairs have different properties. So when you're engineering the product, you're able to get better crosstalk suppression when using this, this termination. So this is one of our best-selling HDMI extenders right now. This one retails at $5.99. And what this one does is, comes in black and white, by the way. All of our products come in two colors. Basically, you get IR, HDMI, and you power both sides. So very simple, very reliable product. And here's the other side of it. So besides you know, having the IR built in, you can also plug in your own blaster and receiver. So typical wiring diagram, you'd have your blaster pointed there. The receiver has its own IR pickup if you're able to leave it visible. And very clean, simple install. So this is another market. This is our KVM. We sell quite a bit to this market. It's for, you know, mainly studios buy it, post-production places. They have these high-end noisy computers, and they just don't want to be sitting next to them. So what this product does, it extends DVI, RS-232, and USB, and Ethernet. So as you see on the back of the product, this one uses one cable to do the USB, and it's doing a full 480 megabits on the USB. The USB is using Icron technology, and the HDBaseT is how we're doing the DVI as well as the RS-232 on a single cable. And this is a typical setup. Now, we've come up with a similar product to it. This is our DVI KVM Extra Long Range Extender over one Cat5. So what the HDBaseT has, they have a 100 megabit bus. And this thing's actually wrong. There's no Ethernet on this product. So we lose the 100 megabit Ethernet extension, but now we can get USB 2.0 running at 100 megabits. Typically, when people extend the computer, they're just using a keyboard and a mouse, maybe a tablet, maybe a touch screen. None of those things require the full 480 megabits. It's only if you're trying to, you know, burn DVDs or do large file transfers that you're going to notice the speed. You're not going to notice any difference with low-speed devices. This would be a typical diagram for it, just single cable. And this is our DVI Extra Long Range. So very simple. It's only got DVI, single Cat5. We make the same product with DVI and RS-232. So as you can see, the products are kind of similar. That's how we make 3 to 5 new products a month. They're kind of slight variations on the same thing. And this was our first extender. This is our HDMI with Ethernet. And what you have is IR, Ethernet, and HDMI. Typical setup for it. So you got your Ethernet running to your TV, you got your internet coming into the sending unit, and your source plugged in. Now these get a little bit interesting. So I think this is one of the first products using the power over link. And what this product allows you to do, you do not power the receiver. So we're sending the power over the link to the receiver box on the bottom. And this 5 volt is actually an output. So you can take this output and power another Gefen product. All of our products typically use 5 volts. So this basically, what it allows you to do is just make a much cleaner install on the back of the TV. You don't have the wall wart. You just have the box back there. And this is similar to the ELR, the HDMI, the previous one. And its only difference is this one also has RS-232. And this is in the Pro line. So this one comes with 24/7 support, as well as you get free advanced replacements. And as you can see, this product here is powering our digital signage solution, and the HDMI is going from the digital signage into the switch. So here, you're switching between the remote source using the TV. The next product I'm going to show you, it's similar to this, but it's got the switch built in. So this is the POL2, is what this product is called. And you can see the receiver has a local HDMI input. So you actually switch at the receiver rather than at the TV. And this would be a typical diagram. You can see now the HDMI is going into the receiver, and all of the switching is done there between the local and remote source. So some of the upcoming features. So the long reach mode. We've done a little bit of testing with this. We currently aren't exactly shipping it. But what we've done with the long reach firmware that they have now, they're able to do 480 feet on Cat 6 is what we were able to achieve. And we got 400 feet on regular Cat 5. We've actually shipped this firmware to some customers. We had some customers call us who had, 400-foot runs, and the regular firmware that we're shipping didn't work. So we shipped them the beta firmware for the long reach, and they had no issues with it. So right now, if you guys do have an application where you need 400 feet, we can ship you the long range firmware. The one issue that we have with the long reach firmware is it doesn't work on the shorter distances because we need to switch between them. So we're going to build a new version of our products that will have a dip switch to switch between long range and short range mode. So we'll have that by the end of the year. The other thing with the HDBaseT is you're future-proofed for a while. So they support the 300 megahertz pixel clock in HDMI, which means you can do 4K at 24, and you can do 1080p 60 3D. None of these currently are used, but if you buy the extender now, you buy a new TV, a new Blu-ray in a few years, you'll have this support. We are working on powering a display in the future all through the Cat 5. So you're going to have a single Cat 5 that's going to power your monitor, power the receiver, so you're not going to need any kind of outlet where the display is. We've done some feasibility studies, and we actually believe that we can get up to 200 watts on the same Cat 5 that's delivering the video and Ethernet. Any questions?
I have one question.
Sure.
You mentioned the 568 MB wiring pattern.
Right.
The A was what, 40 feet less?
Yeah.
So you're saying you can't achieve 100 meters with the 568 AR?
No.
And then the TI, the 570 residential cabling standard,
Mm-hmm.
certain that it's only references 568A. That's why I was kind of.
I mean, typically what I have seen is, I would say almost everybody in the US uses 568B. It's pretty rare that I come across the A termination in the US, but like I went to Australia earlier this year and I did a training, and their standard is 568A and they never use the B. It's not a big deal. I mean, you do have to re-terminate the cable, but you know, it's, if you're not trying to reach the whole 100 meters, it makes no difference. But yeah, it definitely does make a difference when you're pushing the length. Because yeah, it's like the wires, they don't all behave the same in the Cat 5.
Was that just one manufacturer, or was that several that you verified that with?
I mean, we've always been using the B termination for all of our products. Even for 6 years ago when we made our HDMI extenders that weren't based on HDBaseT, we had the same results, that if we used the A termination, we couldn't get the same distance. So I think it's a pretty technical reason why, but I can't fully explain why that happens, but you can test it and you'll see the same thing.
That's good enough.
Yeah.
The long-range firmware that you were talking about, you said that's available now, but the switch for it, where you could go long to short, will be available in December, is that right?
Yeah, so what we have to do right now, the long-range firmware has problems going short distances. So if you say, I'm doing a run that's between 300 to 480 feet, the long-range firmware is good for you. In the future, we're going to relay the board, so I'll have a switch on the unit, and then that switch will basically switch between the two different modes. Anything else?
Also on the ELR POL,
Mm-hmm.
power version, is that 5 volts you said?
Right now it's 5 volt, 2 amp is what we're doing.
HDBaseT?
That is HDBaseT.
Okay. Because I think that was something that you guys, the POE standard,
Mm-hmm.
that 802.3 AT plus is like it's 50 to 57 volts. That's why I was wondering, like.
I think, if I can comment on that, I think the power implementation you have in that product is it's not power over HDBaseT. It's a different power.
No, so let me explain what it is. It is power over HDBaseT. We're just not using the full voltage that's there. So we're sending, I believe it's 48 volts on the Cat 5. And at the other side, we have a transformer that takes that 48 volts back to 5 volts to run our chips. We technically could have put an AC transformer in there and gotten the higher voltage, but we're not sending high amperage right now. We're only doing 10 watts on the output, so we're sending 20 watts total over the Cat 5. It's about 10 watts the unit itself uses, and then 10 watts it can output.
Because power over HDBaseT, we talked about it earlier, actually delivers up to 100 watts and up to 60 volts. So that's the new addition to the HDBaseT standard. So I believe this is what you're talking about when you said in future products of Gefen, that's the kind of power that you need.
Right, they'll be much higher powered. I mean, the issue right now is the whole conversion from going DC to AC, you need a transformer this big, and it becomes cost prohibitive. That's kind of our problem right now, which is why we haven't gotten to the 100 watts, but I'm sure you guys have it all figured out, and you know, we'll be one of the first people to develop that.
So is the power for the POE
Yeah, it's got a big transformer, right? No? But here's the other thing. If the monitor is made to run on DC, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so when the TV itself doesn't need a transformer to go from DC to AC, then you're right. Then it's much easier and becomes very cost effective. But right now, when all the TVs require 110 AC, you need a big transformer to do it. So yeah, you guys are demoing a TV that is direct DC in, right?
Yes.
I got you.
You should definitely come visit us at the HDBaseT booth and see single wire TV powered by HDBaseT footage. Very cool.
Anything else? Cool.
Thank you.
Thank you.